let me welcome to the show. She is a finance expert. We like that. We like that. And CEO and founder of Black Girl Venture. Let me welcome to the show for the first time, Shelly Bell. Welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me. This is exciting.
Good. Thanks for coming through. All right. Let's go back. I want to start with the finance part of it. Tell us a little bit about your journey there.
Yeah, I mean, what I'll say is this is firsthand, real world grassroots finance. Understanding coming from building businesses, also running like multi-million-dollar contracts and just working in different sectors. It's weird how like over the course of your life, you have so much experience that kind of delivers you out into the moment that you actually take hold of your passion and run. So a lot of that expertise came from making money for other people, and then making money for myself.
Specifics, Shelly.
Okay.
I mean, that's very broad.
So
that ain't a journey. You gave us the whole the overview. Tell us how you got here.
Get into the story. Okay, here we go. So, I was running this large contract for this workforce development agency, and ultimately, terrible people making money off of poverty did not care necessarily about the people they were serving. My boss asked me to do something that I didn't agree with, so I sent one of my employees instead. He got upset. He laid me off. Right. So there I was engaged to this man who did not want me to start a business because he did not think it was going to be stable enough for our family. We're growing a family. He's like, nah, I don't think you should do that. And so I did it because I'm like, maybe this is what people do if they're being a great wife. So I went to do some patent search work, which I had done before. I was faking it every day. I hated it, but I was going in and smiling.
Pause. All right. Before you get to that,
okay.
What did you go to school? Did you? I mean, like what?
Oh, you
what
want
was that?
You want my life?
Like no, not your life, but to be in a position to get laid off from a job that I'm sure you were making good money, and like what was the contract? What was the?
Yeah, I'm a computer scientist. And
there we go. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Come on, Shelly.
Yeah, I'm a computer scientist, but I've lived a lot of lives. I mean, honestly, just being a hustler, like I was a K through 12 teacher for a while. Like I said, this workforce development, running this contract in DC government. And then also just had some like performance poetry where I launched my own art organization. And I really learned a lot of community building based off of that. So art in general, but then like started like organizing for specific communities, like the LGBT community and communities of women to write together. So yeah, all of that built up to this moment that I'm about to tell you about. So there I was, right? My boss calls me in. He's like, "You're amazing, but this is not for you." So he laid me off again. Like this is my second layoff now, right? So I go home and I'm devastated. I call California Psychics, and I'm like, "What's happening?" And the woman, she told me, she said, when you find the thing that you want to do, the money will come and you're not going to be with that guy. So literally within 2 months, my whole world flipped upside down. Threw everything out of my living room, including him. And I built a teepee and put in my living room. And everybody was like, nobody's going to sleep in your living room in a teepee. I said, yes, they will. Watch. I'm going to build a teepee, put it in my living room and rent it out. So I'm in Home Depot. I don't even know how to drill a hole. The guys are like, what are you doing? I'm going to build a teepee, put it in my living room, and I'm going to rent it out. They're like, nobody's going to sleep in your living room in a teepee. I said, yes, they will. Watch. So come to find out, AirBNB actually has a teepee option. So I put the teepee on Airbnb, and I had so many people who wanted to come and stay. And I mean, the idea came from, how could a single parent actually create extra income using Airbnb when you don't have an extra room? How could women who are traveling, because I've been traveling as an artist, and men could like yell from the stage, like, I need somewhere to stay tonight. And the women would be like, okay, but I can't do that. That's not safe for me. So it was also like, how could I create this network of women that could travel safely? But it worked. But this is where I really realized what safe space is. So we use safe space a lot as like a buzz term. But if you and I walk into a building and it is structurally sound, technically it is a safe space. safe space means safe people. And it sounds like whoever just entered the space before I got here wasn't necessarily that safe, but based on the conversation I heard y'all having. But, you know, having more safe people in the space with understanding and empathy is important. And this woman was going through some things. She was sharing it with my children. And I'm like, this is too much. You got to go. So I quickly found out that
I have a question though. I have a question. I have a question. All right. So you have a TP in the middle of your living room, right? The person who's in the TP, they're giving you money every month to live in the TP with a sleeping bag every week. Okay. How long did the person stay in the TP in your living room?
I think this woman stayed with us for about 2 weeks. And you know, this TP is like first class, okay? It's not, you know, she won't sleep in no sleeping bag.
It's the penthouse TP.
Okay, Andrew, listen. We had bedding in there. We had a light in there. We had like, you could close it, you could see out, but you couldn't see in. I mean, like it was like that. I'll send you a picture of it.
Okay. All right. All right. So the lady sharing with your children her troubles, and you're like, you got to leave. You got to get up out of here.
I'm done. So it needed more money. And so I'm like, well, what others? I can't do this. I need to make money and needing more money. So I'm like, what other skills do I have? And so I learned how to do print t-shirts before. So I ended up launching a t-shirt line called Made by a Black Woman. And my mom invested her retirement money, and I used my tax money to buy my own machines. And from there, I started printing for other people and printing for myself. So I was printing my own brand. Meanwhile, printing for like small influencers. I made inroads to print work for Amazon and Google. So I leveled my business all the way up. We traveled across up and down the East Coast doing events from Afro Punk to like small festivals, just really learning so much firsthand about how to work with customers, directly interfacing with people, materials, clothing, chemicals. Like it was a lot to make this happen. Manufacturing overseas, like it was a lot of learning during that time. We made Essence Magazine Holiday Gift Guide in our first full year. And then that caused an uptick in sales as well. So then I'm living it now. I mean, you know, it's a roller coaster ride. My first year, I was like, I'm going back to work for Amazon every other week. I'm going to apply to work for Amazon every week. But finally, the news came out that Black women weren't getting access to capital. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, let's just do something about it. It was not a lot of thought. It was a brunch, 30 women in a house in Southeast DC. We got together. They paid to get in, and we voted with like marbles and coffee mugs. I took the money that they paid me and I split it with the winner. So 4 women got up, talked about their business. The whole audience got to ask them questions. And then they voted on which pitch they liked best. And then I split that capital with the winner. And people liked it, so we kept doing it. So I did a call for a volunteer team. We put an application process in place. And then there we were starting to like get other partnerships, that just natural business acumen, going out, working with different spaces to let us in and do this work. And so after doing that, we got a partnership with Google. And so I was doing some work with Google, doing some community training and helping people like understand marketing and leveling up their business. And I said, okay, I'm gonna give Black Girl Ventures 3 months. If it don't kick off in 3 months, it's gotta go. So I put my print shop to the side, lived off the check that I was getting from Google, and really gave it 100%. And then it took off. We got a partnership with Google Cloud for Startups. We started traveling across the country, doing this event where you come in and you vote for the person that you like with your dollars. So we became a Google charity, and we started doing Atlanta, Chicago. We were in DC, New York, Detroit, Baltimore. We've done, now we have, so out, even with those cities in Austin, Texas, then we also opened up 5 chapters across the country as well. So Philly, Miami, Houston, and Birmingham, Alabama, and Durham, North Carolina. And so in those cities, we have 3 to 5 women on the ground who are responsible for actually like pulling their community together and delivering content on behalf of Black Girl Ventures, and taking what I did, the package, I just packaged it and handed it to them for them to actually do it for their own cities. Because that was my goal. Like, so many people wanted us to come to their cities directly. And I'm like, well, how can I like train other people to do this? This is not new, by the way. This is Black history. In the early 1900s, Black people migrated to Harlem. White people raised the rent. Black people threw parties, rent parties to stay in their homes. And you had people like Langston Hughes, Fats Waller, Duke Ellington throwing these parties with different people in the community to help them pay their rent. And so we're basically just keeping that premise going, the ingenuity of Black and brown people to like suffer and bounce back and be resilient with just engaging community, circumventing the banks, circumventing the venture capital world, and saying, what can a community do for each other? And so, yeah, that's what we are.
Yeah.
Shelly, I love it. I love it. And I can't wait to see a picture of that Teepee. But let me ask you this. What is, if you could identify one or two things that consistently show up in the women who win, because it's Black women, right?
Black and brown women.
If you could identify one or two things that consistently shows up in the winners, that can you share that with folks, just so entrepreneurs who are listening can start to think about what grabs the attention of an investor of any sort?
Yeah, no, I think that's a great question. It is their thought process around what they can do, if I'm honest. Like, it really is like them having an understanding of not just the market, but like what they can do with the market. Because every pitch you hear, people, and I've heard hundreds and reviewed hundreds of applications at this point for us and for other people. And the thing that you hear, this is a $72 billion market. This is a multi-million-dollar, and I'm like, okay, but how much of that market can you grasp? And what is your outlook on how you're going to do that? So I would say that the people that win consistently have a good grasp on how they're going to take their portion of the market and grow their business.
Wow. I'm very rarely speechless, but as I'm sitting here, I'm like, my brain, we were talking this Saturday about, starting a fund, and, that's the way Carter G. Woodson started his publishing. He had kids put 5 cents, give them 5 cents, and then they had ownership in it, when he had his books. And, this is our tradition, because we could never depend on the banks. We could never. And when we did depend on the banks, they usually stole our money. The color money tells that story so horrifically about how Black people trusted the banks, and they speculated with our hard-earned money when we had very little. Soldiers coming back from Civil War, stolen money. So we got to rely on ourselves, and this is that time. So how many businesses have you funded, Shelly?
Today we funded 104. Actually, in 30 minutes, we're going to have a beauty pitch competition drop on our YouTube. It'll premiere. That'll be 9 women that come through that one. So in that case, we'll be up 9 more, and then we have our last competition of the year, December the 4th. And we've had about 200 women come through the program directly, and this is just a pitch program. We also have a training called Jetpack, which is geared toward women who, is not the idea that you can go somewhere and sit 13 weeks through an incubator or accelerator just doesn't fit even the greatest businesses, right? It just doesn't make sense. So we created this Jetpack Accelerator to really cater to the needs of Black and brown women and what they're dealing with and what they're working through and who they are. If you're a caretaker of any sort, it's hard to pick up and move. We also do have a BGV Connect incubator. So every Wednesday we do virtual co-working all day. We do virtual pitch practice at night. We like to cater to the whole entrepreneur. So monthly we have a women in business support group that is led by by licensed counselors and therapists and coaches that come in and talk to people as they're working through their businesses.
Wow. Okay. What's the YouTube channel in 30 minutes, which is just in time for us to be, so at 6:00
That's right.
p.m. Eastern time, right after the show, go to where? Black Girl Venture on YouTube?
That's right. Black Girl Ventures on YouTube.